Hi, ladies. Heather Pillow and Pure Pearls here. Tonight, we are super excited to have a very special webinar with Hanna Tierney. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself, but ultimately, what we're going to be talking about are your finances and how to get control of them and how to work towards paying off that debt that so many of us are drowning in. So, let me turn over hosting ability to Hanna. Hanna, it's all you, honey.
Awesome. Thanks. Hey, ladies. I'm so excited to be here today. A lot of you guys probably recognize my face, and that's because I used to be a pearl. I'll always be a pearl in my heart. But I just recently decided to shut down my business for a little bit and kind of spend some quality time with my family. So for you new faces out there, that's probably why you don't know me. So a little bit about me before we get started in today and some goals that I have for us as a group. First and foremost, I have kind of a passion for finance and personal finance. I think it's something that everybody could always be educating themselves on and continuing to learn more about. It's ever evolving, especially in our market. If you've been around the last 10 years, you've had a great opportunity to see the ups and the downs and everything in between. So my background is in finance. I have a degree in finance that specialized in risk management with another specialty in insurance properties. So I was a professional liabilities underwriter for a long time, kind of boring for some of you guys. But for me, it basically meant that I got to do a lot of analytics and financial analysis. So currently, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and in the last 4 years, have been really involved in the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace program. I started the program with my husband because our 4-year-old was born, and we wanted to kind of come together on the same page as a married couple and growing our family, and hopefully be able to work out some kinks in our own budgeting world. And in my mind, I thought, I have a degree in finance. I know everything. This class is for my husband's knowledge. But I ended up learning a ton. So proof is in the pudding. I mean, you can never stop learning. So needless to say, I took the class with my husband. It was an 8 weeks course. So just as a heads up, the things that we're going to be talking about today are merely highlights of what expands over a really long 2 months. There's a ton of information out there, so I don't want to overwhelm anybody. But after the course was done and throughout the course, we decided to really dedicate ourselves to becoming debt-free, which we'll talk about today, and funding our emergency fund, and really just trying to focus on a stress-free financial lifestyle. So we were able to pay off $29,000 in my husband's student loan debt in less than 10 months. Woo-hoo! And we were able to fully fund our 3 to 6 month emergency fund. That's over $18,000 the 6 months after that. And when I tell that to people, a lot of times they look at me and think, you must be making $100,000 a year to be able to do that. And actually I laughed because at the time we were living on my husband's income as a primary income, and he was only making $52,000 through the county. And so we had just decided between the two of us that we wanted to live on, peanuts basically for a year to be able to tackle some goals. So that's a little bit about me. I'm always an open book, so if you have any questions after today, please feel free to Facebook message me or email me, and I'll give you all of that information at the end. But the most important way to kind of kickstart this meeting is to talk about the desire for change, because quite honestly, there's nothing that anybody can do for you that you can't do for yourself, and you have to have that desire for change within yourself if you wanted to take the steps to make a difference in your own world. And everybody can do that. Everybody can be debt-free. Everybody can live a stress-free financial lifestyle, but it is a challenge sometimes, and it's not always easy, and you do have to make sacrifices, and those are the things that nobody wants to hear or talk about, but it is a reality of what your choices are. So it's the same way with your pure romance business. I think that I loved my PR business and I wanted it to be the most successful thing that it could be. So in order to put that energy into that business, and also to buy the premium or deluxe kit, whatever it was called when it was Slumber at the time, you know, I had to take $1,000 and do that. You're making a sacrifice from something else that could be going that way. So I think that it's very applicable to your PR business, and how we run our daily lives are very similar. So I'll kind of be reading off my notes a little bit. I am going to toggle to a couple screens. Hopefully it works properly for you ladies. So what I wanted to start with was, when I daydream about making positive changes, I think that that all stems from a desire of wanting something specific. And for me, living my life lavishly was genuinely just getting a massage once a month, and maybe going on a vacation once a year with my husband. So just having a safety net of enough extra money to be able to do those things. And that was what fueled my fire for my pure romance business. I know for a lot of us ladies, it's potentially a full-time income. For some of us ladies, it's extra fun money. For some people, we're funding our kids, you know, college education or whatever it could possibly be. So everybody has their own fuel to their fire. I would highly recommend bringing that to the conversation today if possible, and starting to think about your own desires and what fuels your fire and what gets you excited to make changes in your life. So Heather, I'm not sure if we have the capabilities like we used to where we could do a survey and everybody type in or not.
Yes, you can ask them to raise their hand.
Okay.
And if they go into, I think under participants, there is a button that says raise hand. Like I just raised my hand.
Oh, I saw that. Cool.
And then you lower your hand when the question is done. So ask whatever you like and they can hit raise hand.
Awesome.
On your laptop, when you go under participants, you'll see, open that little window up. It'll say there's 34 participants in here. And the button on the bottom says raise hand when she asks questions. So you'll want to ask a yes or no question.
Okay. Well, yes or no? Yes. Do you think that you have enough money to be living life happily? You make plenty of money. PR is just for fun.
Did anyone raise their hand?
Crickets. Okay, so basically what you're all telling me is you could definitely use some more casserole in your pocket. I'm scrolling just to make sure. Yeah, I didn't see any hands raised, ladies. Okay, which is a pretty normal thing. So last year a poll was done and by Forbes magazine that said 70% of U.S. households basically live paycheck to paycheck. And the actual technical definition of paycheck to paycheck means that you have enough money to pay 1 month's worth of bills, but after that, if you lost your job, you would kind of be up a creek. Can anybody relate to me on that notion? Raise your hand. Yeah, exactly. So it's really scary when you think about it. I know that I was definitely in that boat. A little more background information. I'm from Nashville, which is where Dave Ramsey is from. And so I was raised with my dad up my buns about it my whole childhood. So I knew the principles my whole life, but I never really applied them until I was older. And, you know, we all have a need for what I'm going to reference in a couple minutes as an emergency fund. And that's not have our act together. It's because emergencies happen all the darn time. And if we aren't prepared for them, that's when your heart starts pitter-pattering like crazy. And you're like, oh my God, how am I going to deal with this issue? So nobody wants to live paycheck to paycheck. Everybody wants to have a goal and a game plan. And that's basically what the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace Talks is all about. So the things that I'm going to talk to you guys about today, and let's see if this screen share pops up. Oh, wrong one. Hold on. Can you guys see that? Awesome. So ladies, this in a nutshell are the baby steps, okay? And I'm not sure if you can copy and save that, or if you can, you're more than welcome. I just got it off of Pinterest. But this is something that I actually have as, it's printed up and it's on my refrigerator as a constant reminder to our family and our lifestyle and what choices we make. So the topics that we're going to talk about stem from some of these, but in a nutshell, this is everything that is all encompassing in the financial peace books. So at the very top, it says $1,000 or $1,000 in an emergency fund. And that's referencing that everybody should have some form of an emergency fund that's genuinely only touched for emergencies, okay? That doesn't mean like, oh my God, I ran out of wine and I need to go get more. That's like legitimately your car broke down and you don't have any money to deal with it, and so you have to pull from your emergency fund. Or heaven forbid you broke your leg and you don't have health insurance, you need to pull from your emergency fund. Those are genuine emergencies. So we'll talk more about that in a second. Talking about the pay off all debt, that's also referenced a lot as the debt snowball. So we'll talk about that in a minute too. And then the other topics that are listed here, I'm actually not going to really reference a lot today because it just goes far beyond anything that we want to talk about. But I am going to be talking a lot about budgeting, and that's not referenced here. So let's go back to the stop share. Perfect. Oh, I like this little thing. Okay, so basically, if the majority of our goal is to be stress-free as possible, which I think that it is Rebecca Grant high-fiving me, or should I, is it possible her hand didn't go back down? Can you ladies hear me okay? Yep, okay. So anyway, I'm going to start off talking about the budgeting because ultimately that's the nuts and bolts of how you're going to get your act in order, okay? So if you don't already have a budget, I highly recommend that you grab a piece of paper and a pencil and write down just the basics of what I'm about to talk about next. Or again, you can just Pinterest it and it'll pop right up. But the Dave Ramsey budget and what I've aligned myself with as well, I try to keep it as simple as possible because if it's not simple, it's not really replicatable and it's really hard to continue to maintain on a regular basis. So you want to spend some time, hopefully this evening or tomorrow, and actually coming up with your budget. So you'll want to write down your fixed items. That could be your mortgage or your rent, utilities that you spend, food and gas, health insurance. Those are items that I would consider to be fixed. They're monthly, they're consistent, and they're things that you absolutely have to have. They're not a want, they're a need. After that, all the other items are what I would consider to be variable. So buying new clothes, getting a haircut, buying a Coach bag for your mentor because you love her so much. Any kind of extracurricular kid activities, you're paying for soccer, or anything like that. Maybe deciding that you wanted to get a new car and you want a car payment. Any of those things are considered variable. And so when you're making up your budget, you'll want to list your fixed items first as absolute needs. And then after that, it's painful, but everything else is a variable or a want. And so you'll want to list those next. It's really important that when you're looking at all of these items, and let's say you come up with a total of these things and you're honest with yourself, you're like, okay, I definitely want to allot $60 a month to get my hair cut and dye touch up or whatever is done. So you want to put that into your budget. And then you want to look at your income versus your outgo. So how much money are you actually bringing into your home and your household, whether it's from your full-time job solely, whether it's from your full-time job in your PR business, or maybe it's just your PR business. All of those things combined, and then looking at your outgo. And that will tell you how much money you actually have remaining at the end of the month. Now, for a lot of people, it typically takes 1 to 2 months to create a budget that sticks. So I would suggest highly that you use Excel if you're familiar with that. Some people like old school paper. Utilizing something that you're comfortable with and writing it down so you have a visual cue, and being comfortable with knowing that what you have right now on paper isn't necessarily going to be what's going to work well for you, but it's something that you're willing to work on over the next month or two and tweak as needed. When I first started my budget with my husband, we were a little unrealistic in thinking that we only spent, I think it was like, I don't know, $300 on gas every month. After his gas and metro costs, we're looking upwards of $600 a month. And so we never knew that until we started tracking it. There's a ton of apps out there if you want to get tech savvy about it. Mint has an app, and so does Every Dollar, that you can put onto your phone. And it'll actually pull up and sync with your bank account. And it'll tell you how much money you are spending on gas, food, entertainment, mortgage, insurance. It'll automatically pie graph it for you, so you have a general idea if you are 7-Elevening your life away. My husband loves to go to 7-Eleven and get a Snickers bar and a Slurpee, which is only $3, but if you're doing $3 a day, 5 days a week, quickly that is $60 that you just blew to nothing. And there can't be anything more frustrating to me than looking at a pie graph that tells me that we spent $700 this month on eating out, junk food, fast food, and things along those lines. You kind of get what I'm saying? So needless to say, it's really helpful to, if you have an online banking system, to go back over the last 2 or 3 months of history and actually start to look at what you're spending and how you're spending it, because I think you'd surprise yourself with your actual ratios and where you're putting money down the toilet. Kind of sad. Yeah. So that is one of the biggest challenges. And I know that sounds very easy, but the first time I ever did this class and I actually taught it in real life, we send home homework with all of our participants, and then they come back 7 days later with, with their responses of how their homework went. And we added up, I think we had 31 participants, maybe 14 of them were actual couples. And we added up how many dollars that they had spent in the last 2 months on just junk food and fast food and garbage like things. And it was over $12,000. So living in Dominion Valley, first of all, is where all these people hailed from, which is terrifying because they're the ones that have all the money, right? Because they live in this fancy community and you think that they drive these nice cars and they have these mansion homes. Well, they're blowing just as much money as we are. So really the whole idea is to come up with a budget, something that works for you, something that's realistic, and then something that you can plan going forward to do and to take advantage of. And that will be your biggest key for getting on some kind of a budget, tweaking it near wherever it needs to be tweaked. Any thoughts or questions before we move on from that basic budgeting idea? Heather, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I had to reclaim host because it wouldn't let me unmute myself. Do you have access or a recommendation to a good template for a budget for the girls who are not familiar with how to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So can they hear me now?
Huh?
Yeah. So if you are interested in getting the Dave Ramsey format, you can always go onto his website and you can either do one of two things. You can become a Dave Ramsey member and get, buy into the kit and get all of that fun jazz, which comes with a ton of things. Or I'm pretty positive you can actually go to his website, daveramsey.com, and download his Excel file that he has for free. It's a template. Here's the book. It's a workbook, but it's very similar template to what is in the back of the workbook that we assign as homework. Under the quickie budget, if I can find it real quick for you. You can utilize something like this. That's what it has. And this is like if you like the hard copy of things. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I know that Excel can be extremely frustrating for some people, and it's like reinventing the wheel. I'm more than happy to email Heather my personal Excel budget, and they can copy and paste as needed at that point, if that's easier for some people.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Any other questions?
Girls, you're welcome. Even though you're muted, you're welcome to use the chat button at the bottom to submit questions, by all means. And if for some reason you're driving or you're riding or you're not in front of a laptop, you can text them to me and I'll pipe up. All right, go ahead, honey.
Okay, so the biggest takeaway from the budget is that you need to come up with one, and then you have to really commit to the process. And so part of that comes with having an accountability partner. For a lot of us that are here, we might be married and have an accountability partner kind of already built into our relationship. If you're like me, your accountability partner enables you to make bad decisions. So sometimes it's not always the best. But if you're single and ready to mingle, it's always good to grab a girlfriend that you genuinely trust and you know has your best interest at heart and will call you out on your bad decisions. So that would be your second assignment. One, come up with budget. Two is to find an accountability partner, somebody that you know will call your BS if you are not doing yourself a favor and actually sticking to your budget and sticking to your plan that you've made for yourself. So that would be my next thing. Heather, I'm not sure if that's something that you would like to incorporate within the PR team itself, or if you would just say, go ahead and find your own friend and your own partner. But I would highly recommend that, at least for the first 2 months, to get you on track with somebody. All right, so the emergency fund is my next quick topic here. And for you lovely ladies out there, how many of you guys in the past week have had an emergency, like shit completely hit the fan and your heart dropped to your stomach and you didn't know how you were going to pay for something? Raise your hand.
My starter went out on my Escalade in Orlando when we were there for World Conference.
Isn't that fun? Yeah, I see lots of hands. So just yet again, this is totally normal. Just from my personal experience this week, I had my 9-month-old spill water on my computer. So my new computer just went to the boot, and I was really fortunate, and I got a new one for free, actually. So yay for knowing people. And then this morning I went out to my car and my van wouldn't start. So emergencies happen is the point of all of that. When I was in college, I was 22. I lived in DC by myself. I didn't have any family or friends. I mean, I had friends, but I didn't have any family here. And I remember driving from Nova in Annandale out to my home in Centerville at the time, and my car broke down, stuck in traffic on 66, to the point where I had to go from the left lane across 4 lanes of traffic with smoke billowing out the hood of my car. And all I could think was, how am I going to pay for whatever the heck is wrong with my car? I'm not even going to be able to afford to get it towed to Centerville. And I had that complete chaotic meltdown. At 22, I called my dad in full tears, who lived in Nashville, and he drove that weekend to come pick me up to just help me have my meltdown and be done. And for Christmas that year, he ended up actually buying my first Dave Ramsey kit for me and saying, you need to have an emergency fund. And if you had one in place when all of that happened, you would not have panicked nearly as much, and it would have completely shifted your reaction to what has happened. So step number 3 for you lovely ladies is getting an emergency fund in place. $1,000 emergency fund is what's recommended right out the gate, which can be easily done in a matter of 8 weeks. You can put $125 or whatever you need to into a separate account. It needs to be something that's accessible to you, but not so liquid that it's sitting around like cash in your house, that you might be tempted to spend it, that you might have somebody accidentally steal it from you. I would highly recommend just putting it into a savings account, a free savings or checking account that's attached to something that you already have at the bank. And then only using that money for an actual emergency, which I cannot stress enough for you guys. Before I continue on, I see some questions, so I'm just going to scroll up real quick so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves. Laura said, how much money should you be putting in savings? That's all really relative, Laura. So this $1,000 emergency fund is based off of just getting your emergency fund started. If you already have your emergency fund funded and you've already done your debt snowball that we're about to talk about next, then Dave Ramsey recommends a 3 to 6 month amount budgeted that's in some kind of liquidable asset, so like a savings account or a free checking account that you have access to, set aside. So when I say 3 to 6 months, that means if you spend on average $3,000 on just your necessities and bills a month, then 3 times 6 months would be $18,000 that you would need to have set aside in cash somewhere along the lines. The next question is, getting started and I've never had a budget. What steps did you take? Baby steps. How many times will we fall back into bad habits? Always. I'm not sure who asked that. Heather, was that you?
No, it's Ashley Smith asked.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. That's a great question, and I'll be the first person to admit that I've been a hardcore Dave Ramsey fan for 4 years, and even to this day, I still struggle with some things that are like weaknesses for me. I really enjoy going out and spending money, having a good time, entertaining and having dinner and, doing a winery or whatnot. And there's many times where I pull from the wrong envelope, so to speak, and I will treat myself to something. And then later on, I can't get my hair cut because I've pulled now money out of my haircut envelope to do that. So I think there's always going to be bad habits, and that's hopefully when an accountability partner is helpful. Let me scroll back down.
I think too, being realistic, like don't be so stringent with yourself that you have no joy.
Oh, absolutely. So typically in our Dave class, like when we do the full-blown budgeting course and we go over every incremented item, fund money is an allotted budgeting item. And even if you have no money to do anything else other than pay bills and allot yourself $25 in fund money or whatever it is, make sure that you are doing that every month, because you will drive yourself crazy. You will not be realistic, and you will fail miserably if you don't give yourself a little fun. And like Heather said, you'll be miserable, and that's not the goal. The goal here is to have some form of stress-free lifestyle. So it's not always going to be perfect, but you can always tweak it to make it work for you, for sure. All right. So one of my favorite chapters that we talk about in the class is the debt snowball. So for you that are not familiar at all, this will probably be the bulk of this conversation. And it's something you can see Heather's head. Yes.
Oh my gosh, it was brilliant. I love this.
Yeah, and it's really not rocket science. It's all about the application, but taking that knowledge and making it a part of your daily habitual lifestyle and knocking stuff out so you don't owe anybody is the idea. So debt snowball is raise your hand. Oh, I see lots of hands going up. Or maybe those are just old hands. I don't know.
I think those are old hands. Everybody put your hand down.
Put your hand down. Heads up, 7 up. Put your hand down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so raise your hand and keep it up. Raise your hand if you owe if you're indebted to one credit card company. Just so you know, almost everybody's hands have gone up, which is absolutely normal, ladies. Raise your hand and keep it up if you are indebted to 2 credit card companies. 3, 4, 5, all right, I'm gonna let it catch up real quick. Okay, so the average American household owes 4 different credit card companies and is indebted to them for more than $17,000. Okay, so my first 6 months with slumber parties or pure romance, it was my goal to save $18,000 for our emergency fund. So I did that in 6 months. So all of you ladies are more than capable to get parties on the books and to be able to churn and burn through some parties and really work this business for yourself and take advantage of what it can be for you. Obviously, there's lots of successful women around you and lots of brilliant opportunities, and it is all there for the taking. So take full advantage of it and rock and roll with it. So $17,000 is a ton of money to owe somebody, and that weighs stress-wise on your body so much, it's insane. Studies have shown that people that owe more than one person, more than one line of credit or credit card company, more than their mortgage, actually decreases their lifespan by 10 years, just from the mental stress of perpetually owing somebody and having that come through their daily life. So let's knock the stress out and knock the debt out. So debt snowball is be realistic with yourself. Take some time to actually look at all of the information that you do owe and who you owe and how much you owe to them, and kind of organizing it. And actually the way that my husband and I did it, he had just student loan. I didn't have any debt at the time. But through his student loans, we had 4 different lenders, I think. And so you want to organize your debt and take the smallest amount of debt that you owe and make that your first goal to kind of knock out the debt altogether for that first smallest one. So for example, with my husband's student loans, 4 different student loan companies, one we only owed $1,200 to, one we owed $10,000 to, one we owed like $11,000 to, one we owed like $4,000 or $5,000 to. We literally like cut little pieces of paper, just good old fashioned strips of paper, and had a cork board in our house of what we owed and who we owed it to, and we put it in order with the smallest amount of debt first, and then the next amount of debt, all the way up to the largest amount of debt. And our first goal, our like line sight target, was to knock out the smallest amount of debt first. So in order to be able to do that, typically companies make you have a minimum monthly payment. So you'll obviously want to make that minimum monthly payment on any and all debt that you owe that month. And if you've done your budget correctly, you'll have some kind of money left over. And in theory, depending on how intense you want to be about your debt snowball, you'll take that money left over and you'll apply it to the very first smallest amount of debt. Does that make sense to everybody?
So ultimately, you're trying to knock out the smallest one first.
Correct. And the idea is you knock that bad boy out, you feel a sense of motivation, and then you'll be able to quickly pick up speed, creating this snowball effect that rolls into the next one and into the next one and into the next one.
So can I ask a question in this real fast?
Yes, please.
So the biggest question that I get when I discuss this concept with people is, well, but my smaller credit cards have smaller interest rates, whereas my bigger ones have bigger interest rates. So how does that play into it?
So this is all according to Dave Ramsey's theory, because if you listen to a lot of different financial gurus, they all tell you kind of their own information and what they think about it. According to Dave's theory, you start with the smallest amount of debt and you work your way up to the largest amount, regardless of the percentage of the interest rate. And the idea is that you're building that momentum. If you pick the card that has the largest dollar amount that you owe, and it just so happens to also have the largest percentage, the largest interest rate percent that you're paying, you're going to get so burnt out always seeing this crazy large number over your head of how much you owe the $10,000 or $11,000 that people lose steam and they can't keep up with it, and they end up petering off at some point very quickly. Whereas if you've knocked out a small little teeny tiny Victoria's Secret credit card that you have because you have a panty fetish or whatever, if you've knocked that out, then you're able to come behind it and get the next Sears card knocked out. And then you're able to come behind it and hopefully get your car payment knocked out. I've never had a car payment in my life, but a lot of my friends have $400 or $500 a month car payments. And I can't imagine having to pay that every month. I mean, I'm sure it's probably a nightmare for some people. So yeah, definitely go ahead and do what works best for you and do some research on it. Dave's not always the right one that's out there, but that's what I did, and I would recommend that as just a guideline and a principle to apply.
So really fast, just for my visual girls, I'm going to reclaim host again, and I'm going to screen share a sample. Come on. All right, let me see if it'll do this. Okay, girls. So here's a sample that would be similar to something that I dealt with when I first came over. And it's funny that you said Victoria's Secret because
you look like a Victoria's Secret girl.
It's a perfect example of those store credit cards that we get sucked into when they're like, you can get 10% off your purchase. And you're like, oh, great. So yeah, I mean, everything. You put everything on there so that you can really see what you're chipping away at, and you're still making your minimum payments on all of these things. But this is the one you're focused on, and it feels so good to be able to literally delete it and be like, yay, it's done, right?
Absolutely.
So good. It's just like having a list. We like to cross stuff off our list.
And reward yourself. That was my biggest takeaway is when you do get to a point where you're marking things off and the 7 steps, the 7 baby steps that Dave talks about. Every time we would mark off a baby step, or every time we knocked out a new student loan or whatever it was, we would reward ourselves with a date night, or we would reward ourselves with, my husband got a new canoe at one point. Whatever it is for you that gets you pumped and excited and makes you shoot for the next goal. You deserve to treat yourself to those kinds of things when you've done a really good job. So absolutely. Do it to it.
I love that snowball. I'm telling you, when they taught that at Slumber Parties convention, when the lady came in and spoke, I think that was like 4 years ago, it was life-changing because I had done exactly what Ashley asked about. I paid off $20,000 of credit card debt in my first year in business, which was great. Like that made a huge difference for us. And we have the emergency fund and we have the 6 months. And so we got too comfortable and we started swiping again.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the hell does this build up so damn fast? Like, it's just fast. So having it in multiple places, especially if only one partner manages the finances, the other partner has no idea what flows in and what flows out.
Right.
It's definitely the biggest mistake that we have ever made in our marriage is not having both people truly involved in our finances. Because my husband, I swear to God, he thinks I print money in the basement. Like, he's out there making it rain every day like it's no big deal, right?
Right.
And so it's eye-opening. When I showed him, I'm like, our budget is $8,000 a month. Like, those are our living expenses. He was like, what the hell are we buying? I mean, like, he was just astounded because he doesn't pay the bills. I do. So he wasn't
Right.
aware. It really, this is so helpful.
And I did want to do a fun little quiz with you guys in a second, but when just circling back to the budget now that Heather's made that comment, I was gonna do a free spirit and nerd quiz for you guys, which is so fun. Kind of just discovers a little bit about your budgeting personality. And if you have a partner at home, I'm not joking. It's a date night in our house once a month. We have a budgeting meeting, and it can last 5 minutes. It can be the same old, nothing's really changed. We're just checking the boxes and we're running through life. Or it can be, hey, we just got a mega tax refund. Where are we going to put this money? What do we want to do with it? You know, my husband and I have 2 separate mortgages for 2 separate homes. And we have a traditional 30-year loan on our primary home, and our secondary home we had a 15-year mortgage on, but we currently only owe 2 more years left on that mortgage. So taking that intensity from student loan payment, we kind of ho-hummed it off for about a year, and then we got back into another intensity now applied towards our other mortgage, and it's so doable. That's the fun part about it. And once you start picking up that pace, like at first we were taking that extra money and putting it towards our other mortgage, and we were like, no, we're not really seeing any change. But then you start making more and more effort, and it chips away. And when this past spring came and we got our tax return, I called our mortgage company and said, how much do we owe on that? And as soon as she told me, I was like, I'm going to put this tax return chunk towards it, knocked it down even more. And now we both have that re-energized, refocused, gazelle intensity zone. We are like locked in. I know Christy's going to pop over there about her gazelles. But we are. It just reinvigorates what's inside of you that you can do it. And it gets exciting that way. So I'm going to do this quiz for you guys. And you can just answer it on your own, and then we can kind of go from there. I see more questions as well, so we can get back in these in a second. All right, so it says choose a statement that sounds more like you in each set, and you can either choose A or B. Can everybody hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A, you actually enjoy balancing your budget. Or B, you'd rather watch bad infomercials and then get around to your budget at some point. A, you throw food away on its expiration date because gross, that's what it's there for. Or B, expiration date, smells good, looks good, I'll eat it. A, rules are important and they should be followed. B, rules are kind of like suggestions. It's okay to bend them. Just depends on how you want to do it. A, you're always on time. B, you're always 15 minutes late. Fashionable, of course. A, you love planning the vacation almost as much as going on vacation. B, getaways are for going with the flow. Spend as much as you want and do whatever you want. You guys get the picture, right? I don't have to run through all of these. So if you have mostly A's, raise your hand. Oh, quite a bit of A's. For some odd reason, I feel like pure romance girls are not A's.
Oh, I'm, with the exception of 2, I'm a B.
Okay, A's. You are all the nerds, this was my only screenshot that I just had to share with you guys. This is my other,
Oh, hang on, you still have it, yeah? Okay.
I think so. Yeah, let's see how it works. Woohoo! I'm a budgeting nerd and I'm proud of it. Something else that I printed off a while ago and I put on our fridge. Anyway, you're a budgeting nerd. You're awesome at crunching numbers. You look forward to firing up your computer. And organizing your budget, it gives you a sense of satisfaction to see where your money is going every month, and it's nice, neat, and in place. You can stand to be more awesome when it comes to budgeting because it's just so much fun. You make sure that giving yourself money for non-necessity categories like going out to eat and watching a new release, it's all for your sweetie. Nothing goes wrong when it's coming to your income. All right, all you B's, raise your hand. A's, put your hands down. like blows up. Yeah, most of the pure romance girlfriends that I have are definitely bees at heart. So you ladies are all free spirits. Woohoo! You're braless and having fun. You're the party. You don't get too bogged down in the details. It frees you up to enjoy life. When it comes to the budget, you excel at shopping and entertaining. Life is too short not to live it to its fullest. You can stand to be more awesome when it comes to trying to make a realistic budget. Try looking at last month's expenses to see where your estimates were a little off, and then tweak your new budget so that it's not solely focused on all fun. Saving is important too. Ultimately, I think everybody has a little bit of a free spirit and a little bit of a nerd in them, and it's really about finding budget, especially if you are in a partnership of some sort, a marriage or whatnot. You and your partner might not always see eye to eye, but you're going to have to work together. And so communicating is probably the absolute number one key to success when it comes to budgeting in a partnership. And having those monthly meetings can be like so clutch. I would highly recommend them. Jody, leave your bra on.
Always for an excuse to get naked.
Exactly. Let me scroll back up. I saw somebody asking a question earlier. Payments from first debt get applied to the next. I haven't begun building very much inventory because I have. Oh, this is a great question and a great segue into our PR business. So Lizzie said, I haven't began building very much inventory because I have been immediately paying off debt. I owe 2 credit cards and some to my aunt for the beach this summer. PR has helped me to start paying these off. Awesome. Super awesome. One of the most important things that you guys can do in your PR businesses, and I know probably Heather will be on board for me saying this too, but having parties first and foremost, because if you don't have parties, you don't have like income happening into your business. And then secondary, having inventory to bring to your parties is really, really important. I can't tell you how many times in my 2.5 years of having my business that women would come in to the party, not even see the shopping room. And all they had to hear was the word that I had a shopping room, that I brought the inventory to the party, and they would gasp and be so excited to go shopping. If I even mentioned that I had only 2 or 3 of a certain item because it was a hot seller, the ladies would be on it like white on rice. I mean, having that inventory there is such a business booster for you. But it's all about having the right inventory. You don't want to have inventory that doesn't work for your business. So talk more to your sponsor or your upline about that, but definitely a very important part of being on a budget in a business, really. So any questions about debt snowball? I think we kind of veered away from that for a couple minutes, but.
So Hannah, do you, and this is definitely more of a personal question, so you can choose what you want to answer. When you were running your PR business and you had very specific goals, were you running it so that every bit of your profit from your parties went towards household budgeting, or was like your business dedicated to your savings and your extras and all of that kind of stuff?
Okay, that's an awesome question. So the first 8 parties that I hosted when we were Slumber, I put 100% of my profits. For me, I was all into my business. I was 100% dedicated to the idea of my business working because I knew it was going to work if I wanted it to work. So I put 100% of my profits back into my business from my first 8 parties. That was something that I had just dedicated to myself right out the gate. After that, I paid myself or our family on the 15th and the 30th of every month, the same days that my husband gets paid. So that I would say at a minimum, X amount of money would be coming into our bank account on this day. Let's say $500 was the goal from the 1st to the 15th, let's just say. Anything more than $500, that would be a great opportunity for me to talk with my husband about what we're going to do with that extra money. should I put some of it and invest it back into my business? Maybe conference was coming up and I wanted to prepare for that and put a certain amount of into a jar for something. Maybe we were having, the desire for a vacation coming up, so we put that extra money there. Whatever it was, I would pay myself consistently and regularly at least a similar amount. I think that that's helpful to be on a consistent schedule, to know that this is a payday for you. I think a lot of my sister consultants, when I was in the business, would tell me, I had a party last night and it was awesome, and then I went out and went shopping this morning using my profits from my party. And that's don't get me wrong, that is awesome. It's tons of fun. It's a great way to reward yourself for your hard work, but it's really easy to lose track of your profit margin at that point. How much money did you actually make from that party? What's your takeaway? Are you prepared to potentially have some back orders to ship out later on? Do you have that cash flow sitting in your PayPal account? Whatever it is, I think it makes it tricky if you're not paying yourself like a paycheck on certain select days of the month. Set up whatever works well for you. If it's once a month, because you only party maybe 3 or 4 times a month, once a month works that you would get paid. If you party 6 to 8 times in a month, I would get paid twice a month, and I would do the 15th and the 30th and just transfer the funds. I mean, I did a lot of PayPal. I'm not sure what all you ladies do, but I would just transfer funds.
Got it. So a couple of things, because I've had some private questions come through, just people that wanted to be anonymous. First and foremost, I want to share with everybody that the reason I asked this question, Hanna, is because people are generally all in, and they're like everything in the business, and then they get in a couple of months and they feel down because they haven't done anything fun with any of their money, right? Like they've done a really good job of investing, but they have not actually rewarded themselves. So I did the exact same thing that you did. My first 10 parties, I just went ahead and reinvested everything, because that was over the course of a 2-month period, right? And I was like, well, I'm already broke. I can't get more broke than I already am, right? Like I can't get less than I have, but I know that my sales will be higher at my parties if I actually have this product here. So it was a business decision on my part, because I had a full party schedule.
Absolutely.
I never want to see anybody invest in all this inventory if they can't book a party, right?
Right.
Parties are the only reason that you need inventory.
Yes.
Somebody asked, how do I know what to buy for inventory? So there's actually I'm going to screen share really fast. There is a great tool in COO that I think most people don't even realize is there. Okay, so if you're on COO, you go to My Business and go to My Reports, and then scroll down. Even if you're not entering your parties, if you're a slacker and you're not entering anything, this system still tracks what you're buying. So you would go into items purchased, and it's going to show you year-to-date totals. Report. It's going to show you your numbers. So let me make this a little bigger because we're all blind. Okay, so here's my 2016 numbers. It's going to show you literally exactly what you have purchased. Oh, this is not right. Wait, what did I do wrong?
Are your dates off?
Maybe. I'm looking back here. I just pulled this up 2 days ago and I know it was right. Items purchased. 2016 view report. Here we go. Okay. So it's going to show you how many of each item you've actually bought, right? So you know what's in your inventory, but ultimately, like I can look through here and be like, oh, 62 body boost. Clearly I sell that well, right? 11 body self, 20 burning desire. Like you can go through this and very clearly see what it is that you're moving. So those are the things that you would want to have inventory in. You do not need to have one of everything. It is not imperative. I do not carry one of everything. I don't. There's just some stuff that I rarely sell. I never show it. So if they want it, I tell them I have to special order it for them. So that's how you're responsible about your inventory. Now, industry standard is that we carry 1.5 times our normal month's sales in inventory. So if your normal month is $2,000 in retail sales, you would carry $3,000 in inventory. So I hope that is a little more helpful. Lizzie in particular was asking that question. And I can definitely work privately or even as on the group separately on exactly how inventory should be managed. But it's not an exact art. There's definitely going to be some ebb and flow to it. And once in a while, I'll be like, oh my gosh, how did I end up with all of this coochie in Radiant Orchid that I don't sell very well? And then I'll have a special on it at my next party and clear it out and replace it with what I do sell well. So it's definitely a learning process, but there is an art to it that can be taught. All right, let me turn this stop off. Now, I will tell you that, so I do live primarily on my override at this point, because I got to a point where my override was bigger than what I was making even from a really good month's parties. So I use my override to pay myself. I pay myself once a month. And I also have 15% of my override taken out and put into a savings account. So it's just gone. My husband has $1,000 a month taken out of his paycheck right off the top and direct deposited into the savings account. So it's just gone. We never even see it. And, you know, while I do have the emergency fund, I have plenty of liquid cash, I really try not to use it. So for example, this past month in April was like the financial nightmare for us. Everything that could possibly go wrong with the exception of our health finally did. The car broke down, the refrigerator died, my son had to get braces, boom, 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 all these things. So we had more than $5,000 of unexpected bills come up in a 2-week period. And it was a lot. So I absolutely could tap into my savings if needed, but I chose, because I am responsible with my credit card, to just go ahead, put it on my credit card, and now my override is coming on the 10th, and I will pay that credit card off with my override. Does that make sense? So you got to be responsible with it. If you're not responsible with credit cards, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's what your emergency is for. Now, the flip side of that is I have not gone to get my nails done. I bumped my hair appointment into May, right? Like,
you dipped into your envelopes for your hair.
Right. I mean, that's really what this boils down to. If I had to pull that money out to buy a refrigerator or a washing machine, that happened to us last year, then the money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So don't think that anyone, including myself, is above cutting things. Like, we are not on a steak budget this month. You know what I'm saying? Like, my family loves to eat steak. Well, guess what? There will be no steak until June, because we're paying for our, kids' braces. And I wasn't going to go on a payment plan for him that was going to cost me more.
Yeah.
Right? So it really is a matter of being willing to sacrifice and recognizing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not forever, but it will be forever if you don't start taking care of it. And you're absolutely right. The health issues and the fighting in our household that was being caused by debt is absurd. I mean, top 2 reasons for divorce: money and sex. Well, this business fixes both. So you're really in like an ideal place to be able to not have these problems anymore, right? Like, it's truly unbelievably lucky for us that we were smart enough to start this business. So if you're curious about any of this stuff, obviously you can reach out to Hanna, but please don't hesitate to contact me and I will walk through this. I have done this with many team members where they have sent me every single one of their debt. Like, they sent me a copy of their credit card and said, here's what I've got. And we created a plan to be able to get them out of it. It makes a difference. And I will tell you, you have a semi-supportive spouse, we'll call them. The business is great and all, that's fun, but I don't really want to watch the kids, or are you really actually making any money? Those kind of people. Paying off debt is one of the fastest ways to get them seriously excited about this business, because it really does. the proof is in the pudding when those bills just vanish and you no longer have them anymore.
Heather, do you mind if I take just a quick second to talk about the envelope system at all?
Yes, absolutely.
Just because it seems to, I mean, obviously based off of your April and how important the $1,000 emergency fund is, really important. Once you kind of get the ball rolling and like I said earlier, you have that $1,000 emergency fund, you've stuck to your budget for a while, you've started your debt snowball, hopefully you get the 3 to 6 month emergency fund rock and rolling. It's really helpful to have a separate envelope system set up for things that are like large purchases, like your car. We all know our cars are going to continuously need maintenance. They're all going to need taxes paid on them. They're all going to need, oh my God, my car needs 4 tires, or, whatever it is. So it doesn't hurt to every month, put 150, however much you can allot into a cash fund that sits in your office space that's specifically designed for your car or specifically designed for your house maintenance or whatever it is. Those are really good envelopes to have set aside for those car-only emergencies and things along those. I'm more than happy to kind of talk about the envelope system more, but it's pretty basically a cash carry kind of system. And a lot of people that struggle with the idea of balancing a budget because they don't like to, look online at their bank accounts or balance their checkbook or whatever it is that seems to be the struggle for them. Sometimes it's easier to pay in cash because when it's gone, and you're not tempted to spend additional money elsewhere. You're also not relying on I hope there's money in my bank account right now. Cash is there. If it's there because it's either in your wallet or it's not. So the envelope system is a really great thing to just kind of Google and look up and guide yourself through. I would highly recommend it. And then last but not least, this was another, can I screen share now?
Yep.
Yeah. This really strikes a chord with me because it just hits the nail on the head. If you must have a game plan. If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. A lot of people have no idea what they're saving for or how much they're going to need to retire or how much that, they're going to need to do anything, or they might not even have any goals to go anywhere or to do any kind of application at all. So a really helpful thing that I would suggest is talking with some kind of a financial advisor or financial planner, somebody that's free, FREE. Don't do anybody that's going to charge you a fee. It should be 100% free. There's a bazillion of them out there, so don't come to the first person and just fall on your knees to them because they say so. They will do a complete evaluation of what your goals are for retirement, when you want to retire, how you want to live when you retire, whether you want to live like a millionaire or you want to live like in a box. They'll take into account if you want to pay for your kids' college. They'll take all these variables into account. They'll take what you currently are making. They'll project it into the future based off of a 12% return. And they'll tell you how much that you need to projectedly be investing every month to get to that goal. And that will project to you in your mind, like, okay, well, if I want to retire when I'm 67 years old, which is like the average age for retirement, currently speaking, then I'm going to need $550 a month to go into an IRA or a Roth or something along those lines. So definitely take advantage of that. I literally came home with an entire binder, this cute, it had to have been like 2 inches thick, full of pie graphs and charts and projections, a whole portfolio set up just for me and my husband. And we had given our advisor 4 different scenarios. What if Sean passed away and we cashed in his life insurance policy? What if we both made it to the age of retirement and we both had to live on our health, our own health without any kind of social security, what we would need, So take advantage of those resources. You owe it to yourself to be able to have a goal and to know what your future looks like, hopefully.
Hannah, how do you recommend they go about finding someone like that?
If you live in the Manassas Haymarket, Gainesville area, I can send you to somebody that I personally know. Obviously, they're there to work their own businesses. They are there ultimately to sell you. My friend Rick sells life insurance policies. He sells great ones. I personally decided to go with another company. But just making a quick phone call or asking, really, I would ask friends of friends, who do you know, who do you work with, and how did you get them? People will give you good and bad recommendations, especially women. You know how we work. So we will tell you if we did or didn't like somebody, if they're skeezy or not skeezy, and if they're just trying to milk you over. But I'm more than happy to send my guy any kind of business I can. I think he's a reputable member of our community, and like I said, I got a sweet portfolio. I wish it was right here so I could grab it and show you guys. It'd be awesome.
I will also tell you that any of you who do business with USAA, they have tremendous financial advising that is completely free because you're a member. So definitely utilize that service. Hannah, there was a couple of other questions that came in.
Yeah.
So one is taxes, saving for taxes for your business. How do you recommend doing that?
I think it's based on scale. I mean, Heather, your business is at such a large scale. You put away something monthly projected?
I actually pay taxes monthly, so
you do pay taxes monthly. So
putting it away, I just automatically take that out because I know exactly based on what I pay myself what I have to pay in taxes. Before I did that, I was told to stash 10% of all of my party income. And so I just did that religiously. And more often than not, I ended up not needing it because of all the tax write-offs that we had. So it just was a windfall for me at the end of the year to be able to do something fun with. But there were a couple of years where I did owe because of what I made. And I was not then straddled with an enormous tax bill all of a sudden in March.
I think I would just base it off of, if this is like, let's say your first year in business, base it off of last month's sales and everybody on this team should be having projection goals for every month really, right? So you should be saying, my goal for this month is $3,000 sales points. So 10% of that is what you should be kind of stashing away in theory. Now, for most of the ladies that are on the team, they're not churning numbers that I would be too concerned about. And once you pay your expenses, hopefully everybody is keeping up with their expenses side. So for all you guys out there that might be new to the business, expenses is anything that you have invested into your business. That also, that could be like postage, paper, pens, inventory, all the way down to office space in your home, utilities, gas, all types of things. So you need to
have a whole other recording on taxes.
Absolutely. So I would highly recommend keeping lots of documentation of all of those things throughout the year, and then they kind of balance each other out. But yeah, for tax purposes, definitely set aside a portion and then kind of roll from there. I personally, I think myself and a lot of our PR sisters, I always keep kind of a variance in my PayPal account, about $500 or so.
Yeah.
And I think that's once you get to a point where you do have that flexibility to have that just for your business, I think it's wise to have it in there.
I agree.
Especially if like Gucci's on sale or something, you got to buy extra or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And that's how you end up being able to take advantage of those sales and ultimately make more profit from
absolutely
that same party. Kat asked, how do you handle bills that aren't necessarily fixed? Pool passes, association dues, car taxes, things that pop up every quarter or once a year. How do you plan on your budget for that?
Okay, so depending on how big it is, you can either break it, like knowledgeably know, like I'm going to have my personal property taxes due in August or September, and you can divide it by 12 months, create a cash envelope for that specific item and leave it in your office. And every month you just pull the cash out, you put it in the envelope, and then when the time comes to pay that bill, you just pay it. That is the most primary, example that I can give you. some people have enough cash flow to where they just know that next month is going to be a really heavy hitted month. And they just, anticipate that coming up, and they just kind of take one for the team in August, and they pay that one bill out of whatever their normal cash flow is. And they know they're not going to be able to do anything extra or fun that month.
Yeah.
What was the other?
I would also say when you're using these envelopes, don't feel like you have to put some massive amount of money in there. I mean, $5 every single month towards your vacation or your new TV or whatever it is, like that adds up really fast.
Yeah, totally.
Especially if you've got multiple things that you're trying to save for. It's better to have something in there than to have nothing because you're waiting for a windfall.
And again, it's good to treat yourself for the vacations and things like that. Oh my gosh, we actually have jars. I don't know if you can see me. These are our jars. This is kind of like a cuter way to do a cash envelope for something fun that we're shooting for. I live my daily life with a cash envelope wallet. So when I go to the grocery store, get gas or kids stuff, it's all done in my wallet. I have a separate system. But at home, this one says, this is for my husband's hunting. So let's see how much money he has in here, like $2, I bet, because he's kind of slacky. But yeah, so we put cash every month. We'll come up, and this is also, so we encourage our kids as well. We come up with different tags. We put the dollar amount on the tag, and then we fill the jar. Once the jar is full, then we're allowed to take that tag out and put something new inside that we're shooting for and aiming for. And we all know that the cash is in here. So my son has one. He's been wanting to go to Legoland or something for forever. So he has one in his room. Every time he gets money, he puts it in there. It's the same idea as a good old-fashioned piggy bank. You just actually have a goal for it, and that's the part that makes it you drive yourself faster and better.
Yeah, I've got a 15-year-old that wants to buy a car. I'm like, start babysitting, sister.
Yeah, I saw that post. I might need her. How much does she charge?
Boy, I'll tell you what, she's making a mint babysitting. They make a lot more than I did when I was babysitting, I can tell you that.
I know. I used to pay our old babysitter $15 an hour.
Yeah. So Christy says, the envelopes rock. My husband and I have a set amount of fun money for each of us every month. I'm a nerd and always save a little in an envelope. Just went into that envelope to spice up our date night. It's over $300 just from saving $10 to $20 a month. Brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, it adds up fast.
Yeah, I would love to encourage you ladies. I mean, I would love to have some kind of a follow-up meeting to this one and see what kind of successes you guys or what challenges you presented yourself with. Really the goal and takeaway hopefully today would be budget, emergency fund, and to write down your debt snowball, if nothing else, just to identify like, hey, this is who I owe money to. And I should maybe start thinking about aligning the stars to start knocking it down. A lot of people don't even know who they owe money to. It's just a bill and it gets thrown into a pile in their office and then they kind of don't identify with it. And that could be your biggest enemy, is just trying to avoid it. So if your celebration a month from now is like, hey, I took the time to actually look and see where my debt lied and organized it, even though I haven't actually confronted it yet, that's a big step in the right direction. And I think that speaks volumes as to you wanting to make strides in your own world. So
one other thing that I'll say too, and Hannah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is definitely something that we did when we were really, really struggling. You can actually call your debtors and talk to them and explain to them that you are making every effort to make the payments and ask for them to lower interest rates and to bundle things. So I got my Discover card to lower the interest rate for me for a certain period of time. And the mortgage, right before I signed up, we were not making our mortgage payment. We were about 60 days away from being foreclosed on. And ultimately, the mortgage company just wants some money, right? So some money is better than no money at all.
I don't want to deal with foreclosure.
Right, exactly, because that costs them money. I mean, every time a house forecloses, they're not only losing the money on the house that you're not paying, but they're losing the money on the people that they have to use to process the foreclosure and all of the craziness that goes on. So they do not want you to foreclose. So ultimately, when I called and said, listen, we're really struggling, blah, 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 they were like, okay, so could you do this every 2 weeks, right? And broke it down into smaller bite-sized pieces so that I could not only catch up with the payments that we had not been making, but continue to make actual normal real-time payments. And they were lovely to work with. So for anybody that's on here right now that literally feels like they are drowning in their debt, like it's just so stifling and you feel like a failure and you're afraid to even acknowledge that you've gotten yourself into this, it's okay. There are very few adults that have ever not had some kind of debt. And that average that Hanna shared has actually gone up in the last 10 years. It used to be $8,000 on average, and now it's more than twice that. So
2008 wiped people out.
Absolutely. And that was when my husband was unemployed. I remember.
Yeah.
I will tell you that, again, this business gives you the ability to increase your income at a moment's notice. So if you are struggling, if something happens, if you have a layoff, if something like that happens, you got to reach out. You have to ask, right? I'll use Tasha Holland as an example. She wound up losing her job last month. I think actually right at the beginning of April. And of course she had that moment of, oh my God, what am I supposed to do now? But she very quickly rallied and called both her sponsor and I to say, okay, so I got to figure this out because now this is my full-time income, right? And there are tools and tricks to make that happen. So I think ultimately one of the biggest takeaways from all of this is that hiding the issue is a bad choice, right? Like it's not going to get better just because you stifle it, and you're going to have to swallow your ego and acknowledge the fact that you need help and just ask for it. But ultimately, I would love, Hanna, if you are able to fit it into your schedule, to have a follow-up a month from now to say, hey, what have you done? And give everybody the opportunity to share their small successes, any big successes they have, and just the plan that they've ultimately put in place for change.
I love it. And also, if you don't know where to start, I mean, let's say you are drowning hardcore and you think, I mean, a big one for a lot of people isn't even credit card debts. It's actually hospital debt. I just had a C-section in July. I got 16 different people sending me different bills that they want money, right? So it's an overload. And sometimes in our overloading moments, we get overwhelmed and we just shovel it to the corner, and then it gets genuinely lost. And then you just don't even know where to start from there. You have the right 3 times a year to get your credit score. And with that credit score will come a list of all the people that you owe and are indebted to because they want their money. So if you don't even know where to start, if you have thrown away or burned the pile of mail that was sent to you, do yourself a favor, get your free credit score checked and your report checked, and it'll actually print off an entire list alongside the customer service call numbers of how you can, because of course they want you to pay them. So they're going to make it really easy for you to call them and talk to them about it. And it has the number on there, and call them and talk to them about it. A lot of hospitals now actually have scholarship funds. Well, they will not only, they'll tag your account as being delinquent, but you're trying to pay it so that you don't get hounded by debtors. What's it called? You know what I mean? Yes. And they'll also offer you a lot of times a scholarship. Can I give you a $500 from this scholarship to help you pay for your health bills, depending on what exactly is going on in your world. You'd be surprised what these people are willing to do for you. If it's something like your cell phone bill, if you're up to your ears in debt and you really don't know where to start and how to refresh yourself, you can actually freeze your cell phone bill for 6 months and not make a payment on that darn thing. So there's lots of tricks to the trade, and it really is just about communicating with the people that are around you, and saying it all with a freaking smile will really get you a far, far way with customer service. Every time I make a call, I'm like, hi, it's so great to talk to you, Alicia, like, da-da-da. And I just try to make even I could have tears in my eyes, but they're still human and people, and I think they're willing to work with you as best as they can. So absolutely, give them a call and see what they can do for you.
One other thing that I will tell you that we did when we were really struggling is that we went through our bills and we made some really hard choices about what we could live without, like cable TV. We did not have cable for 2 years, and we didn't miss it ultimately. Frankly, I think we probably should turn it off anyway, just because it, kills brain cells, but it's an unnecessary expense. Really going in and talking to your cell phone company and finding out, okay, so you've got this giant cell phone bill. Where are you spending most of your minutes, dollars, megabytes on data, whatever? You may be paying for more cell phone than you actually need. And they're not going to stop you, right? Like, they're just going to keep taking your money, and you're paying for all these things that you don't need. Haircuts. I started giving my son his own haircuts and taking my daughters to the beauty school for $10 instead of $25, right? Like, it just really started evaluating what was legitimately important to us and what was a luxury. And if you don't have a luxurious income, then you don't have luxury, right? So we cut all that stuff out, knowing full well that it was, again, temporary for a lot of it. And we dug ourselves into this hole, and now we were going to be responsible and start adulting and dig ourselves out.
Yay for adulting. I'm so glad you used that word. It's not always fun and it's not always glamorous, but fuck it, it's needed. You have to do it sometimes.
Yes. And honestly, you'll feel better. You'll have more pride of self knowing that you were responsible and you managed your schniz, as opposed to being irresponsible and now you're embarrassed and you're, afraid and you don't want anybody to know. And so you just, hide from people about it. It's not awesome. You can't do it.
No. Well, I could talk for more time for sure.
I really, really appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. I hope that it was helpful for you ladies. And like I said, reach out to me on Facebook if you want to private message me any of your questions, or, and I will send you tomorrow, because I have to get it off my old computer, but my Excel sheet, and you can definitely forward that on to anybody who can use it.
Wonderful. And girls, I'll be uploading this to YouTube, so you've got it. You can share it with your teams. You can share it with your spouses. Sometimes it's easier for them to hear it from a third party as opposed to from you. And I'll be putting Hannah's name in there so you know how to spell it, so you can find her on Facebook. Hannah, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Love you, ladies.